turns out that this is also a front for the KGB. Well, you spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets use the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean? Mr. Bezmenov was born in 1939 in a suburb of Moscow. He was the son of a high-ranking Soviet Army officer. He was educated in the elite schools inside the Soviet Union and became an expert in Indian culture and Indian languages. He had an outstanding career with Novosti, which was and still is, I should say, the press arm or the press agency of the Soviet Union. It turns out that this is also a front for the KGB. He escaped to the West in 1970 after becoming totally disgusted with the Soviet system, and he did this at great risk to his life. He certainly is one of the world's outstanding experts on the subject of Soviet propaganda and disinformation and active measures. Well, you spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets use the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate 1 generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled, because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world, that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. Your leftists in United States, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize the nation. When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They know too much. Some of them, when they get disillusioned, when they see that Marxist-Leninists come to power, obviously they get offended. They think that they will come to power. That will never happen, of course. They will be lined up against the wall and shot. But they may turn into the most bitter enemies of Marxist-Leninists when they come to power. And that's what happened in Nicaragua. You remember most of these former Marxist-Leninists were either put to prison or one of them split, and now he's working against Sandinistas. It happened in Grenada when Maurice Bishop was already a Marxist. He was executed by a new Marxist who was more Marxist than this Marxist. Same happened in Afghanistan when first there was Taraki, he was killed by Amin, then Amin was killed by Babrak Karmal with the help of KGB. Same happened in Bangladesh when Mujibur Rahman, very pro-Soviet leftist, was assassinated by his own Marxist-Leninist military comrades. It's the same pattern everywhere. The time bomb is ticking, but every second the disaster. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process, which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and
Yes.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes, simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people, and the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled, because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically, America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. It's what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world, that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis.
Well, you spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets use the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There's no mystery. There's nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process, which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate 1 generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and
Yes.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people, and the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled, because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically, America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. He will go to Moscow to kiss the bottoms of new generation of Soviet assassins. Never mind, he will create false illusions that the situation is under control. Situation is not under control. Situation is disgustingly out of control. Most of the American politicians, media, and educational system trains another generation of people who think they are living at a peacetime. False. The United States is in the state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. And the initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system. However ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you. But you don't have to be paranoid about it. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to, unless you want to live in Antarctica with penguins. This is it. This is the last country of freedom and possibility.
Okay, so what do we do? What is your recommendation to the American people?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is, of course, there must be a very strong national effort to educate people in the spirit of real patriotism, number one. Number two, to explain them the real danger of socialist, communist, whatever, welfare state, big brother government. If people will fail to grasp the impending danger of that development, Nothing ever can help United States. You may kiss goodbye to your freedom, including freedoms to homosexuals, to prison inmate. All this freedom will vanish, evaporate in 5 seconds, including your precious lives. The second thing, the moment at least part of the United States population is convinced that the danger is real, they have to force their government. And I'm not talking about sending letters, signing petitions, and all this beautiful, noble activity. I'm talking about forcing United States government to stop aiding communism. Because there is no other problem more burning and urgent than to stop the Soviet military-industrial complex from destroying whatever is left of the free world. And it is very easy to do. No credits, no technology, no money, no political or diplomatic recognition, and of course, no such idiocy as grain deals to USSR. The Soviet people, 270 millions of Soviets, will be eternally thankful to you if you stop aiding a bunch of murderers who sit now in Kremlin and whom President Reagan respectfully calls government. They do not govern anything, least of all such complexity as the Soviet economy. So basic, two very simple, maybe too simplistic answers or solutions, but nevertheless, they are the only solutions. Educate yourself, understand what's going on around you. You are not living at the time of peace. You are in a state of war, and you have precious little time to save yourself. You don't have much time, especially if you are talking about young generation. There's not much time left for convulsions to the beautiful disco music. Very soon it will go, just overnight. If we are talking about capitalists or wealthy businessmen, I think they are selling the rope on which they will hang very soon. If they don't stop, if they cannot curb their unsettled desire for profit, and if they keep on trading with the monster of the Soviet communism, they are going to hang very soon. And they will pray to be killed, but unfortunately they will be sent to Alaska probably to manage industry of slaves. It's simplistic. I know it sounds unpleasant. I know Americans don't like to listen to things which are unpleasant, but I have defected not to tell you the stories about such idiocy as microfilm, James Bond type espionage. This is garbage. You don't need any espionage anymore. I have come to talk about survival. It's a question of survival of this system. You may ask me, what is it in for me? Survival, obviously, because unlike, as I said, I am now in your boat. If we sing together, we'll sing beautifully together. There is no other place on this planet to defect to.
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Let me adjust my mic. I hope everyone is doing all right. Can y'all hear me good? What do you guys think about the interview I just played before the show? Because if you listen closely to what he was talking about, he literally said everything that needed to be said in such a short amount of time. But if you want to do it on your own, just go ahead and listen to his interview that was filmed back in 1985. So everything you just heard right now about subversion and how to reverse, and he offered this solution back in 1985, guys, the year I was born. Think about this. At that time, he was saying that the agenda was already 50 years in. 50 years in. And he said the same amount of time to reverse it, it would take the same amount of years. So from 1985 to right now, it's going to be about 35 years. And if you talk about reversal, in the last 30 years, there was no reversal. There was no reversal. So that means the agenda was on its way all the way to the end. Let me see. 1 second. Let me put an image. Now, speaking about Black Lives Matter, this phrase is like a trigger word right now because he has the word Black Lives Matter. And the theme of the show, let me switch up my banner. We just heard from Mr. Yuri Bezmenov. All right. The title of today's show is Black Lives Matter is a sodomite organization. What has been happening is this movement started way back then, if you know the history. And out of nowhere, it became an organization. It just came out of nowhere. Think about it. We all remember what happened, right? Somebody comes up and a few days later, there's a slogan. Who organized all this? These are some of the questions people never ask themselves. Who organized? Who came up with all these ideas, man? Like people were minding their business, living day to day. Who out there saw they were like, you know what? Let's get ready in case something violent happens to quote unquote Black people. We can come out and say Black Lives Matter, right? Now, people they have to understand the power of words. A word, you may look at it, it means what it says, but it can also mean what it doesn't mean, even though you read it. That's when fables and proverbs and enigmas and it's like, that's why this phrase is so powerful and it triggers a lot of people. Because it was created to divide, not to unite. And who's the biggest stepping stone to this movement? Black men. See what I just did there? Black man is the stepping stone of this organization. Fast forwarding this year in 2020, a pandemic happens about a hoaxy virus that's quote unquote very deadly. We need to shut down the country, stay home, right? Wear your mask, stay home, don't get in contact with some other people. And then something happens as the country quote unquote begin to slowly open back up. Boom! They kill supposedly the police during an arrest basically murders a Black man in the streets. There's a video that quote unquote leaks out from TMZ. Out of nowhere, it's a worldwide news. Everybody comes, like, the whole thing about the virus, it's a deadly virus, stay home. It goes out of the window. Marches everywhere in America, in the world. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. All this for almost 2 weeks, close to 3 weeks. It's the same song, Black Lives Matter, right? Getting people's Black people's emotion. But through this whole thing, they're marching over a dead Black man. But when you start to pay attention, you'll be like, wait a minute. You claim you're marching because you didn't like the death of a Black man, but when you say Black Lives Matter, there's no Black man to be seen around to be talked about. Like, they're not the main subject, even though you're marching for the subject. The subject is not the subject. And here's another thing where people usually get angry at me. These are the head of the organization, right? Where are the men? The man is the head. The women follow. That's how it's supposed to be. I don't care what anyone says. The man is the head. He's the leader because the man carries the power, the masculine. And the feminine is supposed to be behind to support. Right? And another thing people need to think about, the brother who passed, he was a nobody, right? Nobody knew him, right? When I say nobody, I'm talking about when this whole thing spread around the world. Who knew this brother? Who knew George Floyd? Nobody, right? He was just a nobody, just like a regular citizen in society. But this whole theater in the media, this brother was given the burial of a king. Shouldn't that bring you an attention to you? No celebrity that I've known so far who passed received this kind of honor. Either like local mayors or governors or, you know, high-ranking officials in this nation. And I see there, I'm like, wait a minute. They made all this parade, all this stuff for one dead black man. You're out there marching that, you know, this society. And then the same people you're marching against turn around and give him the highest honor. And you don't see that you're being played with, huh? And one thing that really amazes me is emotions blinds your train of thought. Like your logic disappears because you're in emotions. But when you sit down and be like, okay, wait a minute, let me see what's going on, right? Let me go to the website of this quote unquote organization that claims to be for Black lives, right? Let me go. I'll go to their website right now. Okay. When you go to the website of Black Lives Matter, you go to the About section. So according to their page, it says Black Lives Matter was founded in 2013 in response to the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's murderer. Black Lives Matter Foundation, Inc. is a global organization in the US, UK, or United Kingdom, and Canada, whose mission is to eradicate white supremacy and build local power to intervene in violence inflicted on Black communities by the states and vigilantes. By combating and countering acts of violence, creating space for Black imagination and innovation, and centering Black joy, we are winning immediate improvements in our lives. Right? I mean, it all sounds good and all that stuff, yeah. You know, all to trigger your emotions. Oh, we're here for you. You know, Black power. You know, we're here for you. We know you're oppressed, you're killed, you're murdered in the streets. We're here to scream to be your voice, to be the Black voice all over the world. Black Lives Matter. Let me read more. It says, we are expansive. It says, we are a collective of liberators who believe in an inclusive and spacious movement. We also believe that in order to win and bring as many people with us along the way, we must move beyond the narrow nationalism that is all too prevalent in Black communities. We must ensure we are building a movement that brings all of us to the front. We affirm the lives of Black queer and trans folks, disabled folks, undocumented folks, folks with records, women, and all Black lives along the gender spectrum. Our network centers those who have been marginalized within Black liberation movement. We are working for a world where Black lives are no longer systematically targeted for demise. We affirm our humanity, our contributions to this society, and our resilience in the face of deadly oppression. The call for Black lives to matter is a rallying cry for all Black lives striving for liberation. I mean, when you read all this, it sounds good and sweet to the ear, but there's so many, like when I read it, there's so many wording and coding that to the regular person who's not thinking, who's not using his brain, it's gonna go right over their head. Like they just read, oh, it's just something normal, but they don't understand the underlying message. Notice when he talks about we affirm the lives, Black men is not seen, right? Why did it start like that? Huh? I don't see Black men here. Did you guys hear me say anything about Black men? I don't see anything. I'm looking at the page right now. I'm like, wait, I want to see where it says Black man. Huh? Yeah, I don't see men. They see this very slick. They said along the gender spectrum, right? It's ambiguous because they just stay right here. They say woman. Where is men? Where is the man in this about the Black Lives Matter? And you see, this is the thing that I realized. A lot of people are afraid or refraining from really asking the real questions. And I'll talk about this. Why? Because of the backlash you may receive by giving your opinion about this matter. So I'll take an example. Me as a Black man talking about this subject. Will the Black Lives Matter agents come against me because I'm speaking against it? Will they go against their own model, their own code that they're for what? All Black lives along the gender spectrum? Will they support my point of view? Will they? Would they stay true to the word? Because if they do affirm the lives of all Black lives, right? Then why certain Black people who are against this movement, who are giving their point of view and saying that, hey, you guys are not doing what you're talking about. It seems like there's an underlying agenda. They get attacked, especially in the media. They get targeted. They get called, you a goon, you hate your race. What are you talking about? You're siding with the enemy. But didn't you just say that you are doing all this for all Black lives? So you really are not for all Black lives. You really are for a particular Black lives. Huh? I mean, just come out and say it in the open. I mean, George Soros founded this organization, right? He's quote unquote what you call in in, quote unquote white men, right? So the question will be, why would you have a rich white man funding a black organization? Shouldn't that organization be founded by black folks? Because it's the organization claimed to be for black folks. I mean, is there a way for us to actually know exactly what black people who have money, who cares about this organization, how much money they're funding it? Is there a place where we can find the source? Because I don't know if the website will tell us, right? Like, I don't think they're gonna have, like, I know they have a donate section, so they may be receiving donations from a various amount of people, but one of the main person that we know so far that whose information is in the public is George Soros. I mean, is anybody else out there? Huh? And let me show you some of the pictures to show you, black folks, that this organization, they're using you, black men, they're using your skin color to promote something that's against you, that's against family, right? You can't have a black man without a black family. Do you guys know that? You can't have a black man without a black family. So if this organization is about black lives, right? Why will they have this? Can anyone explain me why? Why is this a LGBT movement now? Can anybody explain me? How did it go from George Floyd dying? Because from what the news recorded, George Floyd he had children. I guess he had a girlfriend. He was dating with women. So how do we go from Black Lives Matter about black men dying in the streets? Because most of the main story where Black Lives Matter was mostly marching was mostly when black men died. So why are we saying this? Well, I mean, why are we saying this? See, nobody wants to talk about this. And this thing has divided the black people, because you're gonna have black people who don't agree. They're gonna get attacked, especially in social media, insulted, called coon, traitor, and all this. Why? Because they don't want to agree with an agenda. I'll use an example. I have some uncles who are drunkards, right? They drink, they get drunk, and they lose control, right? They're still my uncle, right? But because they're my uncle and they're drunk, it doesn't mean I have to agree to his drunkenness. No. If you have a family member who is a thief, right? Yeah, he's your family member, he's your blood, but guess what? He's a thief. Should you stay silent because he's a family member and he is doing an evil act of stealing? Whenever he shows up in the house, something goes missing. And then if you scold him, is he going to be like, well, I'm your family member. Why don't you allow me to steal? Right? Like, I don't think it happens like that. Let me show you another picture. This is your leader, black man. This is your leader. This is your leader. This is your leader. Who elected these? Who elected them to lead the movement? Men are supposed to be the leaders, right? So who elected these to lead a movement that cry out for black lives? I mean, are they trying to are they implying that black males, black men don't give a damn about their own brothers, so they don't care about leading an organization that's quote unquote for their lives, to speak out because they're getting killed in the street? Like, See, these are some of the things people they may be asking in secret, but they are afraid to speak on because they will be silenced. If you speak on this, you'll be silenced. Because black people, or was it black liberation movement and stuff like that? It's no longer black, it's LGBT. But they're using your face, your struggle, as a stepping stone for a different agenda. Because I remember a few years back when I was even in high school and college, I was in college and this liberal Caucasian lady, we were just talking about politics and stuff, and she tried to imply to basically say that, oh, we were oppressed too, just like black people in America. And I looked at her, well, I'm like, did black people choose to be black or they were born that way? What happened to them, you can't compare it to your degeneration, to your lifestyle. Just because in American society, you were your lifestyle was not agreed upon and stuff like that, you stay in the closet, you cannot compare that to black people. Because that lifestyle, any race can be out of that lifestyle. Any race. It doesn't matter. But what black people in America have gone through is incomparable. You can't compare it. You can use your way of doing things in life and attach it to their struggle and be like, hey, we were oppressed like you too. If you look at all the position in this country, you are there. So how are you going to say you're oppressed? And you quote unquote the minority of minorities. Why? Because it's a lifestyle. It's an underground lifestyle. And see what this is what happens when you open Pandora's box. When you allow them to basically hijack your organization, you know what's going to happen next? I know it's going to, I have to be careful because YouTube, they don't like, that's what I say, they don't want us to have this kind of conversation, and they will censor your free speech. Why? Because they don't want to hear it. They know you may open people's eyes. Don't be surprised if you have this, the P word, those degenerate who abuse the youth come out and attach themselves. They say, see, black people, we were always oppressed. We have love, this kind of love, and society always look down on us. They label us name, they target us, they arrest us. We have to do all this. See, we were oppressed like you. What would we do then? Huh? And I am sure the black man voice is being lifted up here, but the media is suppressing it so hard that it can, they don't want it to be heard. They don't want it to be heard. Nothing happens out of coincidence, guys. Nothing happens out of coincidence. Everything is planned. Like this movement, like this pandemic has made it like, it has made it like a missile. Like it's so fast and so powerful. It's like there's no stopping it. And all they had to do is they had to use a black face. The black face is powerful, guys. The black face is powerful. You don't need to put a black face like in Hollywood, like back in the day, the black face. No. Now black face, it's not physical. It's covered in movements, proverbs, images, ideologies. It's cloaked in that. And then they will have this side, right? Because this picture has an image. Hold on one second. So I was listening to somebody, he mentioned something that clicked in my mind. He said, all lives matter because we are all mankind or human, right? So why would you say Black Lives Matter? And the question will be, Black Lives Matters to whom? Let me ask you, the individual, your life, right? Who you are when you look in the mirror. Who loves you more than you? Who should care of your body? Who should care about when you wake up, you brush your teeth? Who should do all that? Should you put that responsibility into someone else's hands? So when they say Black Lives Matter, it matters to who? When some people were going marching over there and violence broke out, the cars they were getting run over. If you were marching out there and you were breaking stuff and you get run over, did black, if you were black, did your life matter when you were there throwing rocks in windows and you probably get arrested or you got beat down or you got shot? Did your life really matter? Did you really care about Black lives when you put yourself in a position where you're gonna hurt yourself? And another amazing thing is they were talking about pandemic, stay home. Oh, there's a deadly virus out there. What happened to, look at this crowd? What happened to the virus? Look, people were scared. They were in the house. They were scared to go outside because they told them there's a deadly virus. It's gonna kill you. Stay home. And then boom, marches. Go out there, march. Black Lives Matter. Wait a minute. If Black Lives, wait, hold on, huh? Wait, you mean to tell me Black lives didn't matter when they told you to stay home? When they literally took your freedom to move around, to travel? You were forced to stay in quarantine? Black lives out there, they were forced to stay in their home. Did their lives matter then? Huh? Did your life matter? If you were one of those people marching, did your life really matter when you were told to stay home? Stay home, quarantine. There's a virus that's gonna kill you. Stores were closed. Black people who own, Black lives that own businesses, they were forced against their will to close. Did their lives matter then? Did their lives matter then? I mean, come on. You say Black Lives Matter, right? So, did their lives matter when the country forced everybody to stay home? Businesses could not open. Everybody had to close for fear of a virus. And many Black lives lost businesses. They can never go back. They lost their livelihood. Did you care of their lives back then? Before the marching? Before George Floyd? Let me show you the images again. This is your leader. This is the head of Black Lives Matter. I don't see any men in here. Or maybe I do. They just look different. Look at this. Look at this. I see black people, yes. But what is this? What does your lifestyle choice, how you do things in your private, have anything to do with Black Lives Matter? When we can see that almost every law out here is given to protect these groups. And if for those who were here earlier, I played the interview of Yuri Bezmenov, an ex-KGB agent who defected to the United States, and he had an interview almost 35 years ago about subversion, how you can collapse, or the plan was how to collapse the how to influence communism into a nation and collapse it, right? And bring in new ideology by using certain people in society. And one of the last stages is to bring in the what they call them nihilists and atheists, because this life is nihilistic. It's not for family. Black people, whether in America or all over the world, one of the things that we as a race of people uplifts is family. But the LGBT is not about family. They were never for family. No, they were for their way of life, how they live their life. It was never about family. So why does that lifestyle have to do anything with Black people? If you choose to be in that lifestyle, that's your choice. Like, well, go on. But what does that have to do anything with us as a group altogether? Why do I have to accept your lifestyle if I don't agree with it? Like, you can force somebody to accept. And this whole thing about saying, oh, you have to make your screenshot or something black because you have to support Black Lives Matter. Like, what are we? Are we in a dictatorship? You can't force somebody to accept you. Sorry. You can force somebody to accept you, even if you have to act as if you accept them. You can't, because it's not from their heart. And this is another tool of the divide and conquer, because I don't believe every Black person in America agrees with this. Maybe they don't realize it, but look at this image right here. Look at this. Look at this. See, what's they say? They say if you give, if you allow one thing, then everything else will follow, right? This is a subject nobody wants to touch on. Everybody, they understand the power of the LGBT movement. They understand the power, and they are afraid. But they understand also that the Black voice has a power. And because Black people were always, quote unquote, the stepping stone for everybody else, they're like, hey, everybody else is climbing this ladder. Why not us? This is something, guys, like, and okay, what happened to the marches? What happened? Black Lives came in, they're gone. Okay, states have begun to shut down again. Some people still don't have jobs. Will Black Lives Matter come out and march for people not having jobs? Would they come out for the people who are being forced to quarantine for fear for their safety because there's a virus that's going to kill them? But they didn't do this movement or they didn't force people to stay home when the Black Lives Matter were in the street. So if they know they have this power, right, to shut down everything, to basically stop the government to a halt, to be like, hey, wait a minute, we're gonna march now. You can't tell us what to do, right? Where are they now? Because the states, they're like, hey, yeah, this virus is code red. Okay, shut down everything, stay home, right? Where's Black Lives Matter? Where's Black Lives Matter? They came in. Oh, wait, hold up. You mean to tell me because there is no dead black man that got killed to the levels of George Floyd that there is no need to march? Is that what the message is? That the only time we're gonna stand up against the government's law that basically hurt black lives is if a black lives actually perish in the streets or something by cops, police, and even better, white police. Is that the message that we're sending out here, that the only time your life cares is if a black man gets killed by a white man? Look at all these images. I'm gonna keep showing this. This is Black Lives Matter. This is Black Lives Matter. This is Black Lives Matter. It's not for you, black man. It's for the sodomites. It's their choice, yes, but why do you have to clean all of us? None of all of us agree. So are we gonna be your enemy because we don't agree with this movement? Is that what you're gonna say now? Let me read again Yuri Bismarck quote that you can see here in the picture. The highest art of war is not to fight at all, but to subvert anything of value in the country of your enemy until such time that the perception of reality of your enemy is screwed up to such an extent that he does not perceive you as the enemy. You can take your enemy without a single shot being fired. Recent report, the Black Lives Matter leaders came out and said there are Marxists. Black people didn't make this organization. This is the truth. It was created by somebody else, and using the label put on you and your face, usually it's a dead face, black man, as the torch of the movement. You are the stepping stone. Look at this image. I showed it earlier. All the way to Korea. Black Lives Matter, right? The question is, they matter to who? That's a question people should ask. It matters to who? Who does it matter to? And the thing is, this thing will not stop because it's the perfect storm. They're gonna drag this. There's gonna be more stuff that's gonna happen, especially look up between the month of August and October. All this stuff, the pandemic, Black Lives Matter, and all this stuff that's coming in the coming days will lead to what I had a stream earlier, to having the election canceled. And it's interesting enough, if you listen to the interview of Yuri, this guy, literally everything to a T that he predicted that was already in the works 50 years before 1985, right? He said it was already in the works. And to reverse it, it will take literally another 50 years of deprogramming to basically lead America to the right direction towards freedom, liberty, and everything else, right? But that has not happened. It's been going left since then. So literally, it's 80 years we are already into the agenda. So there's no reverse. It's over. But it's like he gave a solution back then. But for those who were alive back then, because I was born, I was a baby, I just, I read things about what happened or seeing videos. But those who probably lived back in the 80s, I guess if they were to watch this interview, they'd be like, yeah, I mean, it would be shocking of what he's talking about. But I'm sure the people out there, it wasn't something that were interesting to know, because it was already in the works. They were already part of governments, politics, and everything. They're already in. It's like the cancer were already spreading. It's like we're in stage 12 of cancer. And all they had to do is have to use the black man as the stepping stone. So again, Black Lives Matter is a sodomite organization. And hopefully the next time you talk to your family and other people, like, I'll give you a test. If you're a black person listening to this, right, and you're talking to other groups of people and they talk about Black Lives Matter in support, say you're against it and see what happens. Say, no, I don't believe in Black Lives Matter. It's not for us. It's for sodomites. And see what happens. And let me know in the comments. Try it. And I already know what will happen if you tell to another black person this, that it's not, you don't see Black Lives Matter as an organization for black lives. Do not be afraid to speak on this, because what's it saying? If you stay silent when evil abound, guess what? By the time it reaches out, it will be too late. See, people, we talk about history, we talk about Hitler, we talk about Stalin, we talk about dictatorship countries and all that stuff. Well, if you live in a society where there are certain groups you can speak against, isn't that dictatorship? Isn't that censorship? Where you get backlash, where it's a one-sided argument where, oh, we can talk about you, but you can talk about us. And me, and then you turn around and say in the same breath that we're in the freest country in the world. We have all these liberties. These are the images that the brothers need to see. This is going to be the new rhetoric. When you hear Black Lives Matter, it will no longer be about you. Sorry, it's over. Thank you. Thank you, black man. Thank you, dead black man. Thank you for being a stepping stone. Thank you for helping our movement, black man. Thank you. Fight the power, black man. Fight the power. Yeah, fight the power so you can die and let us step over you so we can be the only one standing. Thank you. Thank you, black man. Oh, no. Thank you, dead black man. Thank you. This is your leader. Black Lives Matter. Where are the men to lead the charge? So I think I've rambled a lot. Anyone who wants to jump in, I'm gonna pass the link. I think me speaking for 45 minutes is good enough for now. Let me post it in the comments. Anyone who wants to jump in, who wants to have an opinion on this, please, you're welcome to chime in, because we gotta talk about this, man. I don't care. I don't care about your race, because they're playing both sides, and we black men, we are always left in the ashes when everything is said and done, and we look around, we say, wait, what about us? Shut up, you dead. So anyone who wants to jump in the panel, I won't mind. I'll give it a few minutes, so don't be scared. This place I allow free speech, because I'm for free speech. You may say something that I may not agree, but because I believe in something, I will, what's the saying? The scripture says, do unto others as you like to be done to you. So because I'm for free speech, I don't mind someone coming and expressing. Whether you agree or disagree, you're welcome to. But if you throw insults and start becoming, violent in your verbiage, whether it's towards me or something, because even though I talked about something that I'm against, I didn't go all the way too overboard, but you still have that right to express yourself. So come on, guys, don't be shy. Hey, what's up, World Master? I see you. Hold on. Let's see. I say welcome to Tommy Madison, Dale Hales, peace. YouTube censorship, I see you. And the specialist, I see you probably at work. Yo, Mr. Fantastic, I didn't even see you in the building. Thanks for showing by. Yeah, I was into this, man. And shout out to Lou and Eamon Perry. Yeah, man, it's like we can speak on hours on this subject, because there are some people who probably have the same expression that I have, but they are afraid to speak on it. Why? Because they fear the backlash that will come for them expressing their disagreement with what's going on. So, I mean, it's like, it's so obvious, man. Like, why? Look, when this didn't exist. Like, we didn't see this because on their website they say it started for Trayvon Martin, right? Seven years ago. Did anyone see this back then? Did anyone see it? Did anyone see this during Trayvon Martin when it happened? This. We are being played, guys. Like, this whole thing it's all propaganda for something greater that we probably don't know going on behind the scene. But the the dead black man must be the face of it. So this can come from behind. The fist. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. You're black, I'm black. Black Lives Matter. Anybody wants to come in and chime in on this topic? Don't be scared, man. Here, I allow free speech. If you're for this movement, you can come on and speak on it. If you're against it, don't be afraid to come on up. I'll give you guys a few minutes to jump in, and if you don't, then I'm probably just gonna end the show. Let me see. I'm gonna play while I'm waiting for people to show up. I'm gonna play Yuri Bezmenov again, so you guys can hear exactly the stages of communism. And he called um, people who are degenerate. He calls them the useful idiots. That's why I was correct to say that black men is being used as a stepping stone. The useful idiots are being used to basically advance an agenda that's against the black man. So 1 second, I'll be playing this in the background, and after it's over, if nobody wants to chime in, then I'll just end it and move on into other streams. All right, 1 second, guys.
But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process, which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate 1 generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see, most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place and
Yes.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents.
Yes.
Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years. Actually, it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically, America is stuck with demoralization. And unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis.
Okay, I'm back. Thanks, Lou. I see you in the building. What's up, man?
Hey, what up, Preston? Flew from the chat. Hey, you hear me all right?
Oh yeah, you sound perfect, man. You sound perfect. How you doing,
I
man?
got that cell phone mic going.
Oh, awesome. You're like third one, huh? Yeah, you coming out real good, man.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. So, man,
Yeah.
hey, what's your opinion on this subject, man? Like, I was thinking about this, man, and thanks to Mr. Fantastic, he threw in like a little video, and when I saw it, I was like, well, I mean, what better way to start my Monday stream than start with this topic, because I think that people have forgotten about it because we've moved on into other things and stuff like that. But I was like, wait a minute, hey, we need to bring this subject back because the whole marching is gone. What happened? You see what I'm saying? They try to make us forget that it ever happened, you know, this whole thing, this whole chaos. So what's going on, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. And so, you know, with the marching and everything, my thing with the with any protest, you know, because I've thought about it in the past, and you know, when you really start thinking about it, what do you really accomplish in a protest, right? Like, yeah, you're speaking out, you're getting a message across, but you know, ultimately, you're petitioning, you're asking permission from somebody else to have your way. So you're not really actively engaged in making change. You're not like getting into a city government, forming a business, forming an association, doing any real action that's going to make significant lasting change. You're just kind of taking part in something. It's like if I got to change the oil in my car, but it's like, well, I got to go to the grocery store. I'm too busy to do it. It's something you need to do, but to me, like the protest, a lot of it is an excuse to not really take true action. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like beating around the bush.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
going straight forward, you just want to beat around the bush because you know what's going to happen.
And so, with something like, Floyd and the other guy, at this point, I'm not going to say a lot of it's forgotten, but I think it's kind of been co-opted and taken as like the poster for another movement. But, when you consider like police brutality and training and actually having like true community policing, and I don't say that as a buzzword, but, having police that are involved in the community and know who the people are and what they're doing and how they're doing it, and not in like a big brother sense, but actually being part of a locality, part of a city, part of a town, part of a, whatever community that is, and not being there to enforce basically a law that's been imposed by some other entity, some other organization, be it the city, the state.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like outright rebellion, but anytime you create a law, you divide people into two groups. And one of them is a law-abiding citizen and one of them is a criminal. And that's just how it is every single time.
Speaking about like a policeman who interact, there's a famous policeman on Facebook, and he was on the news years back. His name is Officer Norman from Little Rock, Arkansas. Yeah, he's a mixed brother. Like he's he's mixed black and white, and he's been doing that for years, man. And even in his own department, because he usually he interact with the community, like some of the people, whether they're adults or young children, like you have videos of them, and you have people from around the country and around the world, like they will like their characters and they will send them gifts and presents. Basically, it's like he created like his community, like the people know him, they're not afraid of him. The kids come when he's in his car, like he's like their family member. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's been doing it for years, and his police department actually, I remember one time he made a video where he was very emotional, where they scold him for what he does. Like he's at work, but he's interacting with the people. They kind of, oh, you're supposed to do your job, but he's like, no, my job is to interact with the people. Like, he's like, you have to build a relationship with people, or people are gonna be resentful. And I bet you the people he interact with, like when they were talking about Black Lives Matter, guess what? They didn't hate the police. They support. You see what I'm saying? Do you think the people that he has built a relationship are gonna hate him? No.
Yeah, and that's the difference between, like you say, having that relationship, which is difficult, right? That takes work. You can't just walk up to somebody and like, hey, we're having a relationship. It takes time, it takes effort, things like that. And instead, what we get is we get an organization, right? You have police as just an entity. It's like some group that's out there, and now we pit groups against each other. Police against whatever group, people, Black Lives Matter, whoever it is. And because there's no personal relationship, there's no respect between the two. And to me, it's just a negative cycle. You're not going to have anything good come out of it, especially when the police gets more and more militarized every day.
Yeah.
I went to Costa Rica last year, and let me tell you, in a Walmart, this guy is
bro, hold on 1 second, bro. Whoa, bro! Guess what just happened?
What's that?
YouTube just ended the broadcast.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
I should have kept my mouth shut.
Oh,
sorry, Baston. They're onto you.
Wow. Yeah, they just ended it right now. They just ended it. Oh shit! I don't know how to. Man, I wish I would record this, man. Oh my god! They just ended the stream.
You got to call Alex Jones, man. Get Watson on the case.
Wow. Wow.
See, you said too much. You're going too deep.
Wow. I'm using StreamYard. So
see, that's content for a whole nother stream. You got this now.
What's that?
I said, you can use this. This is content for a whole nother fire stream.
Yeah. what is it? Like I know stream because I'm recording from StreamYard. Do you think what I'm doing right now it can be recorded? Like StreamYard records them, right? Because it saves it on YouTube, right? I don't know. If
I don't honestly. I'm new to all this. I'm just like I'm a avid listener. I'm not a YouTuber.
I wish I would have had an app that can actually record this conversation, but wow, like wow. Hold on. You know what I'll do? I'm gonna screenshot. Like I'm on my computer right now, right? I'm about to screenshot. I say it was a control print. Hold on. No, it's actually screen.
You just hit print screen button.
Oh, okay, yeah. I forgot. Yeah, control print. What was it? Print screen.
Yeah. You got Microsoft or what?
I got a HP, so it's control and print. What is it? What's the print button? I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I just hit print screen and then I open up Microsoft Paint, and then you can paste.
Yeah. Let me see. Paint. Oh, that means I touch it. Either somebody flagged it, or it's because I tried to post the comments on. I wanted to post StreamYard so people can jump in, and it says an error occurred. It said, "Was this broadcast deleted on YouTube?" Wow.
Nice. Did it give you a reason or no?
No, it hasn't because he ended the stream. So
I've watched other shows and it says because Afi, like he'll play like a lot of stuff, and it'll just say like stream ended due to copyright violation.
Well, let's see. It ended like I can see. Hold on. Yeah, since you're here, like you're gonna be my witness, man. I started even record because usually when I do my Zoom, I don't record it, but let me see, because right now I'm on StreamYard. Let me go on my YouTube and see what's going on. Let me log in on the studio and see what happened.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, my YouTube just says there's a problem with the server.
Okay. I'm refreshing it. I want to see what happened. They deleted it. Yeah,
Deleted it completely, huh?
Yeah. I think what I can do is I can send them a message. But yeah, they deleted that because I'm looking on my live section. I don't see. So they ended it because I know DJ Kuda, sometimes they will, like whenever he do like a stream, they will delete it and stuff like that. But let me see. Hold on. Wow, bro.
That's terrible.
About censorship, and guess what?
Exactly. You're just over 24 hours into this too. They're already shutting you down.
I think the reason why you want to show, like whenever you do a live stream and it ends, what it does is it will process it and then it will show up. So I think that's why it got removed. Like because whenever you end a stream, it will basically start another one. Like it will send it to because I'm on my live stream that I had right now. I refreshed it and it's playing. So I'm on my phone. I'm looking at it, so it's playing, right? But basically, what just happened? YouTube ended my session against my will, basically. So let me see. Since we're here, you know what I'll do? I'll change the title, and I'm gonna say YouTube censorship. Like, let me see, because right now they ended it by force, right? So what I'm doing is I'm gonna end it here, end broadcast, right? I'm ending it,